Good afternoon. Welcome to Pyramid Parent Talk. I'm Karen Harper Royal.
And I'm Lynn Farlow.
We're parents with Pyramid Community Parent Resource Center, providing information and support to parents of children with special needs in New Orleans. At Pyramid Community Parent Resource Center, we provide one-to-one assistance, workshops on special education law, positive behavior support, and advocacy skills. You can reach us on the web at pyramidparentcenter.org, on Twitter at PyramidCPRC, or call our helpline at 504-218-8922. You can hear a rebroadcast of this program and other Pyramid Parent Talk programs at www.pyramidparenttalk.com. So today we're discussing choosing a school. As you know, the Recovery School District's One app is underway, and parents need to know the information that is out there about how to choose a school. And Lynn, I don't know if you remember, a little while back, Pyramid created a questionnaire of some questions parents should ask about how to choose a school. And that questionnaire can be found on pyramidparentcenter.org.
Right, the full list is on our website.
And we'll be getting into a few questions. We're also going to have a guest today, a parent of a child with a special need who has tried to utilize the One app process as she's trying to choose a school for her child. So we'll have Kelly Fischer talking to us about her experience in choosing a school. But before we get to that, I just want to go over some important One app deadlines. The Recovery School District says you don't necessarily have to go to all of the different schools, but as parents of children with special needs, we know that you need to go to the school to try to figure out if that school can provide some of the support services that your child may need. So let me just give these deadlines, and people, please keep in mind that this is some of the Orleans Parish direct run schools, some of their charters, but not all of them, and but all of the Recovery School District charters and their direct run schools that are included in this One app. Some individual schools like Lusher and Ben Franklin High School and Audubon, they have individual deadlines for when you should be applying. And I know some of those deadlines are in December and in January. So please contact those schools directly before their deadlines are up. But with the Recovery School District's One app process, the main round, the early window started on November 4th. And the early application deadline is on December 20th. So that is in the middle of the Christmas holiday, maybe just before we leave for the Christmas holiday. The early application deadline for One app. So parents should certainly get to the Recovery School District's family centers to pick up one of those One apps.
And Karen, is there anywhere else they would go? So is it just the family centers that they would get the One app?
And they should be able to get it from the Orleans Parish School Board office on the West Bank also. I went to the library looking for the One app myself. I did not see them at the library, so I don't think they're available at the libraries. But they can go to the family centers. There's one at Cog Hill. There's one at Landry. And do you know where the other one is? Is it 3 of them now?
See, I'm not sure because I know they changed that. So
okay, well, definitely they can go to the one at Cog Hill and the one at Landry School. The standard application deadline is February 28th. So if you're not applying through the early deadline process, the standard application deadline is February 28th. And then during the week of April 7th, parents will begin to hear about, what schools they were assigned based on what they put on the One app. So it's just really important that people get those applications in.
So repeat when they should hear?
They should hear by April 7th what school their child has been assigned to. So the important deadlines, that December 20th deadline, you need to, that's the early application deadline, and the February 28th deadline is the standard application deadline. And so keep that in mind. People can find out more by going to www.enrollnola.org, and that's the One App website. And you can call 1-800-343-4773 in addition to going to the parent centers to find out more details. But as parents of children with disabilities, we know that we can't just, choose a school out of a book. And so we're going to have Kelly Fischer is on the hotline. She's going to talk to us a little bit about her experience with choosing a school. Kelly, welcome to the show, Kelly.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Well, I know that you recently had an experience with searching for a school for one of your sons during one of the school fairs that was held recently. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what happened when you were searching for a school for your son?
Sure. Basically, and just to kind of not to hash up the past, but we had a lot of difficulty finding an elementary school for our son. And this was 3 years ago. But we had to the point where we had gone to schools and spoken with representatives at different schools and sort of been, I want to say, discouraged from applying. No one said you cannot apply here, but it was always that a message was communicated. We don't serve that type of population here. We don't have what your child needs here. And so as my son's getting ready for high school, I wanted to start gathering information to try and make a selection for a high school. And I did go to the Urban League High School Fair about a month ago, which it's great that we have this opportunity where you can go to kind of a one-stop shop and interview different school personnel, because it is hard to actually get to the different schools, and it's incredibly difficult to get information in general when it comes to special education and the type of programming that each school might highlight. So I did go to the high school fair, and I was sort of surprised that once again I ran into the same situation where I had 3 of the 11 schools that I spoke with that, again, communicated the message of, we don't have what your child needs here. We don't offer those things here.
Now, what kinds of things did they tell you they don't offer?
Well, one school told me that they were full inclusion only. And so they said, quote, we won't be a good fit for you. Because my son doesn't operate in a regular education setting all day.
And Kelly, did you find any school that thought that they could meet your son's needs?
There were some schools that were promising. Basically, when I was looking for a school, my child, the nature of his disabilities, he's not going, his focus is not college prep academics. His focus is community skills, vocational skills, independent living skills, and so that's what I was searching for at the different schools. And there were some schools that sounded very promising, but unfortunately they're all a distance from my house.
And why is the location a problem?
I believe that it's really important to have a community school to go to. First of all, I think as a parent, when schools emphasize parent involvement, it's a lot easier for me to be involved if I'm near that school. I can make it to meetings and activities without having to take a whole day off work to travel to get there. I'm also seeing my son's teachers and the staff more frequently if it's a neighborhood school. And then for me personally, I believe that having that neighborhood place that everybody congregates and interacts with one another, and you see your neighbors and you're talking to them, I think it enriches that community, that spot. so that we're more engaged and bettering the community. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense. And for those who are listening, we have Kelly Fischer on the line talking about her experience in searching for a school for her son who has special needs. If you have your own story of how what you've run into as you search for a school for your child with special needs, give us a call here at WBOK 504-260-9265 and tell us what your experience has been. If there are some schools out there that are doing a great job serving children with special needs, call us and tell us that too, because I'm sure parents like Kelly would want to know that. Kelly, can you go on and tell us about some of the other types of things you were told when schools were, as you were searching for a school?
Well, with the most recent one of the schools said that they were for college-bound students only. And, of course, since my son's not a diploma track student, he's not college-bound. Another school just basically asked about some of the services that my son receives and said, well, we don't have that at our school.
How does that make you feel when everything in New Orleans is about parent choice? We're going to improve our school system through parent choice. But as a parent of a child with a special need, how does it make you feel when you're getting these kinds of responses from schools?
Well, it's very frustrating. I mean, I left the school fair feeling pretty hopeless, and but it's beyond just being frustrating. When we talk about school choice, I don't really have a choice. I have a guess, but it's an uneducated guess. I mean, to me, the idea of choice is based on knowledge, that I can use the knowledge that I have to select the program that's best for my son. But the frustration that I keep running into is that there's not really a successful or reliable source of information. So I'm forced to guess, but not only am I forced to guess, but some of the schools, before I even put their name down on the one app, are telling me we don't offer this or we don't offer that.
So when the recovery... No, go ahead.
Anytime a school starts to say we don't offer something, it makes me wonder what else they don't do.
Oh, that's a good way of looking at it. I was thinking about how the Recovery School District brought us one app as a way to level the playing field so that students with disabilities would not face the discrimination we were hearing about prior to one app. So when they say that all of our schools are open enrollment, because all of the schools you went to, those were Recovery School District charter schools, is that correct?
That's correct.
And so when the Recovery School District is saying we're open enrollment, but if as a parent you're doing your due diligence, and you don't put that school down on the list, do you feel that's open enrollment?
No. I mean, I feel like before that choice has even been made, I've been communicated, we're not an option for you.
So that really makes open enrollment an elusive thing for a child with a disability.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, in essence, my choices are limited. What would be the benefit for me to put down one of the schools that communicated to me that my son's not welcome, even if I'm told, well, every school has to take every kid.
Why wouldn't you just put your child at the school you apply anyway to the school? Like being close to home is important to you. So why not just apply anyway and then make the school do what they need to do to help your child?
Well, the problem with that is that my experience has been that then you end up with this time lag between when your child walks in the door and when your child actually starts receiving the services that they require. I feel like, because I've even been told, well, don't communicate that you have an IEP or your child has a disability, and that way no one can discriminate against you because, of course, every school is required to serve all students. But again, to me, I feel like, well, that sets the student and the school up for failure because he's going to walk in the door and what he requires won't be there. So what happens while he's losing academic hours or days?
And that's a good point. That's a real good point. So any parent doing their due diligence in searching for a school, they wouldn't actually put their real choices down there because their real choices aren't options for them.
And Kelly, what I'm thinking is when you've encountered all of these experiences, that it says that the school is not preparing for children who have disabilities to even come. So there's no preparation there at all.
And the thing that really I found shocking was I reported this when it happened to me 3.5 years ago.
And one app was supposed to be the solution.
A month ago, I'm thinking, we've had 3.5 years to fix this problem.
So what's the next step for you in trying to find a school?
That's a really good question. I mean, I get information, but it's so very hard for a parent, particularly a parent with a child with a disability, to get reliable information or to get information that covers all of our options. Again, when we talk about school choice, I don't have one resource to go to that can inform me about all of the schools. Even when I moved down here and I called the Louisiana Department of Education asking for the special ed coordinator for the Orleans Parish area, I wasn't given all the different options. I was first sent to Orleans Parish School Board, who then quickly sent me to the Recovery School District. So right there, that limits my options.
And so before we brought you on, I put out there the phone number for Enroll NOLA, or the phone number for one app, and I put the information out about enrollnola.org. You don't consider that a one-stop shop for information in choosing a school?
I don't know. The one app, not every school participates in the one app. Am I correct?
You're correct.
So, no, I wouldn't consider it.
So then they really haven't fixed the problem.
Even the resources that are good resources that are intended to provide information don't provide much about special education.
What about, have you been to the family centers?
I have not, so I can't really speak about the family centers. People that I've talked to that have gone, I haven't gotten, ringing endorsements, but again, that's just other people's opinions, so I can't say. I haven't heard anything that's motivated me to go.
So how many schools do you think you'll end up having to go visit before you have to make some kind of a decision?
How many have to?
Well, I mean, you visited at the fair.
At the school fair, there were 11 schools I spoke with.
You spoke with 11 schools.
Yeah.
And of those 11, only 3 would give you some information that was helpful in trying to make a decision.
So 8 schools gave me some useful information. 3 schools basically communicated that they didn't have the services that my child needed. But honestly, because when I go to the school and say, here's what's happened, and they do, the last time around I was told, well, you talked to the wrong person, you were misinformed, so it makes me wonder, can I trust the school representative when I'm speaking to them, that they're knowledgeable about what that school has to offer? I don't know.
So before we wrap up this segment of the show about choosing a school, do you have any recommendations that you would like to offer to the Recovery School District on how to make this work better for parents of children with special needs?
Well, I've asked repeatedly that could they possibly provide some sort of general information that's more specific about special education for each school. And that could include things like certain schools may have special training in certain areas that would be useful for a parent like myself to know. My son has autism, so there might be schools that have special training in serving that population. That would be very easy to put out, I would think, and it would be something that, again, schools say, well, we don't want to do that because every school has to serve every child. And I recognize that and I realize that, but we all know from a practical standpoint that every school has strengths in different programming areas.
Absolutely.
And they put that out there. You know, we have a great science department or whatever. I don't understand why it would be a problem for them to say we're wheelchair accessible or we have a physical therapy room or our speech therapist is full-time on staff versus itinerant. I mean, those are kinds of information that I would use in choosing a school.
And especially if a school can tell you that what they don't do. If they can tell you what they don't do, they certainly can tell you what they're capable of.
Right. And, you know, my son has a low incidence disability. So again, not every school has experience working with a student that has his needs. I don't want to be the kid that they have to invent the wheel for. You know, I'd rather go to a school that already has that system down and already has the experience. I don't know.
I can imagine that this has been a very frustrating experience, especially since you went through this several years ago. And I know you didn't expect to have to go through this after all of this talk of having come up with a system to make it more fair or to make it even easier. The one app is supposed to be easier for parents to navigate. And having school fairs, it's helpful to have all the schools in one place. But the bottom line is what the schools are offering. If they don't have it, then you're back to square one.
Exactly. And then you start to think, am I really living in a public school system that doesn't have a spot for my child?
Yes. Well, Kelly, we want to thank you for sharing your story with us. And continue to stay tuned to Pyramid Parent Talk. And you know, if you come up with some solutions, please let us know because we know there are other parents who are having similar problems. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Kelly.
All righty. So, again, we're talking about how to choose a school for your child with special needs. Give us a call at 504-260-9265. Lynn, are there some other questions parents should think about as they're trying to choose a school?
Yes, we have a list of questions for parents. And what I'd like to, before we get into that, is talk about these experiences that Kelly has encountered. What should parents do when they're encountering these kind of situations?
Well, I think parents should definitely give us a call at Pyramid so that we can help them work through these problems. They can call the Pyramid Helpline at 504-218-8922 because we do need to document how often this is happening so that we can talk with the state about fixing the problem. Right. Because this is not new. We've had these problems for a long time, and it is really ridiculous that with all this talk of one app making the process simpler for families, that families of children with disabilities are yet again pushed to the sidelines.
Absolutely. So remember, families, you need to call the helpline so that we can have a roundtable discussion about it.
Yes, that would be great. Pyramid could definitely set up a small group parent meeting, a roundtable discussion, so that parents can share what they're going through, and also so parents can see which schools have the services, because as Kelly said, the schools are not telling you what they do provide, so this is a great way to bring parents together so that they can learn from each other to see what kinds of supports and services are at different schools and what parents' experiences have been at these schools so that they would have a better barometer of how to choose a school.
And I'm thinking we don't have this question on it, but as we were discussing, maybe a parent can say if a school tells them, hey, these are the things that we offer, and they're specifically asking about special education services for their children, then they could say, hey, well, what can you offer my child that has this particular disability? That would be one thing they could ask. And I think you should ask whether there's highly certified and highly skilled teachers in special education?
Well, actually, I just thought about another issue in addition to that. There's parents, once your child's in a school and they're not providing those services, you want to get your child out of that school. There's the protest that's going on over at Culver Collegiate and Culver College Prep. There are some special needs students whose parents want them out.
Because they're not receiving services.
And so the Recovery School District is telling them, well, no, you can't get out of this school. So we definitely need parents to call us. If you're at a Carver College Prep or Carver Collegiate and you want your child out of that school and the Recovery School District is saying you can't get out. If your child has special needs, call us.
And that's a denial of FAPE.
That's a denial of a free and appropriate public education. Call us on the Pyramid Helpline at 504-218-8922 because we can then help you to try to get the right services in place for your child.
So, like I said, one question to ask is, whether they have highly skilled and certified special education teachers. That's a question that a parent could ask. It's a good question to ask how many, what's the percentage of the student body that receives special education services so that a family could see, are they serving enough children with a disability? So that would be a good question to ask. You want to know how many of the students with special needs receive a certificate of achievement or diploma?
Yeah, because that way you can see just how well the school is doing or not doing. Are they graduating these children with a real diploma? Because there's no reason a child with a learning disability or even autism or ADHD or whatever, these kids can graduate with a real diploma. They don't have to be on the alternate track and get a certificate of attendance.
Absolutely. And so, like with the assessments, what about the test? They should ask, what's the percentage of students taking regular assessment?
And now that the tests are changing,
right,
they need to find out if their students will be taking these new end-of-course tests, the new PARCC tests beginning next year. Because if your child isn't taking those tests, they're not getting a regular diploma.
And parents need to know about that.
They need to know about that.
I'm thinking about what Kelly said. This will be our last question that a parent can ask. How quickly can your school gear up for a child that has significant?
Absolutely, because if a parent chooses to go out and apply to the school that is truly their choice, then they have every right to expect that school to do what they need to do to serve that child. So you definitely want to ask that question. It's like, okay, you say you don't have a teacher for autism, but how quickly can you ramp up to provide that? Because I'm applying here.
Right.
So absolutely. So, wow, this half hour goes by so fast. Our next show, we're going to be talking about suspensions and expulsions.
Right.
And, give us a call. You can even call us beforehand on our Pyramid Helpline to talk about if your school is suspending children, because actually we're finding out that schools are sending children home saying they're suspended, but they are not getting paperwork at all. And if your child has a disability, they've been sent home with a bus token and no paperwork, they're breaking the law. So definitely call us at 218-8922 and let us know about that even before next week's show. At Pyramid Parent Talk, we really want to hear about you. You can listen to this program at pyramidparenttalk.com. And remember, you're not alone.